Hello everyone, welcome to AI Anytime channel. In this video, we are going to build a multi-AI agent system from scratch. If you're already working in the field of generative AI, you would have heard of terms AI agents and how hyped up these terminologies and these techniques nowadays in the industry. This is one of the most highly paid jobs right now when it comes to the AI space. Now, when you are building AI agents, most of the time would have been using orchestration frameworks or agent frameworks, like starting from LangChain. Nowadays, people are not using it, but when it was new, people were using it last year. Then we had LangGraph, which is a graph-based, techniques to build knowledge. To build agents. I went into a uh, knowledge graph area. Now you have Crew AI, very low code framework to build, AI agents. Then we have Auto GPT, we have Smith OS, we have hundred of other frameworks that you can use to build it. Those are all good. Those are all excellent to do faster prototyping, faster proof of concepts validation, so on and so forth. But if you're someone who is really interested and want to learn how to build these agents or how to build these kind of frameworks also, right? Of course, alone you can't build it. You need a team to build these kind of frameworks, and these are all open source driven frameworks that I talked about. And once you start building it, community will also support you. But if you want to start from scratch, where you don't want to use any orchestration framework, you want to build in complete or in pure Python, how can you do that? That's the agenda of this video. We're gonna develop a multi-AI agent. We'll try to develop a multi-AI agent system in Streamlit, of course, also, in an app completely in pure Python. Okay. Now, when you build agents, you need large language models. So the agents can leverage LLMs to perform some kind of tasks, of course, in tandem with different and multiple tools. You know, Now LLM can be, of course, used in two different ways, an open source LLM and closed source LLM. I want to create two different videos for this project. One is with closed source, one is with open source. Today we're gonna build with OpenAI, but in the next video we're gonna use OLlama to build the same stuff. Only will change the model, everything remain will same. Okay. Maybe we have to do a bit different post-processing techniques because we have to parse the output from OLlama. It's a different way. Though it has OpenAI compatibility, we can have a look. Now, if you don't know what agent is, if you are a beginner, and I assume that you are a beginner because this video is completely for beginners as well who has never done AI agent kind of a stuff. Now think agent like you know uh, an AI employee or set of AI employees or set of AI students or set of AI workers or set of programs, whatever you call it, depending on the use cases, who basically perform some tasks for you. Okay, given a task, they can collaborate, they can perform together, they can also make decisions, to derive the outputs that they are going to generate. That's what agent is. And now agents can be further categorized into different ways, like autonomous agent who has the capability of making decision autonomously, or they can make autonomous decisions that don't need a human intervention, to basically make decisions, and then they can do things on their own, in future as well when you build this kind of system. That's the agenda of this video. Let's have a look. This is going to be a long video, maybe I don't know, 2-3 hours or more than that. So if you are someone who don't want to watch this video, then you can just jump into the code. Don't waste your time watching the video. You can get the code on my GitHub repository. But if you are an expert, then only do that. If you are a beginner, then it's a waste of time to just directly jump into the code and just run that, because then you will not be able to learn anything. Okay, because I'm gonna cover a lot of things in between. I'm gonna, use diagrams, and I also gonna draw some workflows and explain you each part. And we're also gonna have loggings and a lot of other things. So watch this video to understand it completely. Without any further delay, let's jump in and see what we're gonna build today. If you look at here on my screen, I have something called multi-agent AI system with collaboration and validation. It's a Streamlit application. So that's what we're going to build, because nobody cares about notebooks. I always say that. Nobody cares about your Python file notebooks. If you're showing something in terminal, people hardly care. Client will not be impressed. So you need to build better user interfaces. To start with, you can have a look at Gradio, Streamlit, and then you can go with React, Angular, or Vue, whatever you want to build it. Now, if you look at here on my screen, I have three different things in the left hand side, something called summarize medical text. I've taken a medical use cases because that really excites me. And then I have write and refine research article and sanitize medical data. So there are different type of tasks that I have. So one is like summarizing medical text, write and refining research article, one of the most used use cases using Crew AI, where everybody is building research analyst agent. And then third one is sanitize medical data. So if you have bunch of medical information on records, how can you sanitize that to basically hide the or sanitize or redact the PII information or PHI information, like patient health information or personal identifiable information, or so on and so forth, just to make sure that you are not exposing the patient data to the any system or outside world, right? So you need to sanitize, right? Now, here, for example, if I just come and say write and refine and give a topic like AI use cases in diagnosis or something, right? I said diagnosis. Now I can give an outline like what kind of article I'm looking at. So I'm going to say introduction and probably use cases and application, and then I'm going to have conclusion, right? Conclusion. And when I say write and refine article, what it does, it says it's for start writing article, and I'm going to show you the logs. Now, if you look at the log, we're going to use log guru or something. Okay, we'll see. If you look at this, it says sending message to OpenAI calls the first tool, write article tool. And I will explain that what is tool, how agent utilizes this tool and use an LLM to basically perform tasks, right? Now, if you look at here, the time, the write article tool, sending message to OpenAI, and it now has created a response. It has received the response, right? And now it's sending again a refiner agent. So there is one agent who write the article, then one is which refine the article, and then there is one who validates the article. So there are multi-agent systems that they collaborate with each other and generate an output and so on and so forth. Of course, guys, sky is the limit. You can make this 100x better than what I'm going to show you today, but at least you'll get a basic understanding and you can get started how to build agents from scratch without using any agent framework, right? In pure Python, you can see a refiner agent is done, then we have a validator agent, again sending to OpenAI. And while it's sending, you can find out the output already on this. Okay, it says gives you an article. Okay, here you can see the introduction, title, use cases and applications, conclusion, and then the refined article, then the validation also. You can find it out over here. In the validation, it says the article title, harnessing artificial intelligence for medical diagnosis. A comprehensive examination of use cases provides a comprehensive and well structured examination, blah blah blah. And if you go on top, it gives you refined article here, that this is the refined article that you can find it out. And if you go on top, it's the draft article, right? So basically multiple agents collaborated, validates, gives you the right answer, and so on and so forth. So this is what we're going to build today. And of course, there are other tasks that we can also perform, like sanitize medical data. If I come here and take a tonsillitis Wikipedia, come here, or I'll show you the summary thing. Okay, so let me show you the summary thing. So I'm going to copy this and then summarize medical text and then just click on summarize. When you do summarize, and you can see it basically summarizes it. And not only summarize, it also has a validator agent. You can see it basically says it also rank the summary, rate the summary. I'll say it's a numeric value. It's not a ranking, not a classification thing, but I don't know why I opened YouTube, my bad. Okay. Now, if you look at here, all the logs, okay, all the logs are stored and stuff. So basically, this is what we're gonna build, guys. You can add 100 of use cases and tasks within it. Okay, so now we'll jump into the code, start from scratch. No copy paste, guys. It's gonna be a long video. I'm gonna explain each and every line of the code. So even a college student, even a school student can understand this. I'm gonna explain everything. If you just have a basic Python knowledge, you're gonna understand the flow. I'm gonna draw the diagrams, workflows, code it, and then build a similar stuff, right? Let's jump into the code now. All right, guys. So to build this, you of course need to write code, and if you don't want to write code, if you just want to run it, I will give the GitHub repository link in the description. This is what it called, multi-agent system from scratch. You can just go clone this repository and of course run it, right? So that's what it is. But someone who wants to do it along, that I recommend, code it along with me, you should create a folder. So if you look at here, I have a folder, and if I do ls, I have two files, .env, requirements txt. That's what I want you to create as well. That you need a requirements.txt and that you don't need .env. So when you want to install, either you have Anaconda, you already have an environment, that's fine. If you don't have, you want to create one, then you can create one like this. Doesn't matter if you are on Windows, you are on Mac, or you are on Linux. The only thing that might change is Python to Python 3, because on Ubuntu that basically looks for a Python 3 kind of a thing, because they had Python 2, Python 3. Now just give it a name. I'm gonna give it .venv. Once that is done, we're gonna activate it and install everything within this environment. So this is your environment. Okay, and it's always a good practice if you have just started your career to create virtual environments separately for each project to avoid version conflicts, right? Now here what I'm gonna do, cdv and vscript, you can do it in a single line as well. Most of you will say, hey, why you are not doing a single line? Because not everybody is expert like you. Okay, so we have to do it differently, right? So all the people can understand it. So cd dot dot, cd dot dot, and then you clear the window or terminal, right? Now we have a venv that you see in the left hand side, right? And now we're going to install everything. So we're going to do pip install -r requirements txt. This way you can install all the required libraries packages for this project. So if I show you, and of course we'll do it after this, I'm going to use an IDE called VS Code, and you can use PyCharm, you can use any other thing. If you're in college, people would have told you to use PyCharm, Atom, and so on and so forth. It's up to you to choose. But Visual Studio is my recommended and preferable IDE to work with. You know, so you can see I'm installing some libraries and packages, and I'm going to tell you that why we need these libraries or Python packages. It will take a bit of time, so let's wait for that. And once this is done, we're gonna do what we can do. We can create a new terminal and just do code dot. Meanwhile, it's happening. When you do code dot, it automatically opens the VS Code, in that particular folder. Now, if you look at the requirements.txt, I have these libraries and packages. OpenAI, because we want to work with GPT-4o or GPT-4o mini LLMs, to in this video. Streamlit, it's a Python library to basically build web applications, user interfaces. We have pandas for some kind of data pre-processing if we need it. We have loguru, okay, which will basically for logging and monitoring. And then we have python.env just to save our OpenAI underscore API key. So I have a .env where I have in this format. Let me show you. So if you come here, I have a env.example. You have to make it .env. We have OpenAI underscore API underscore key. So you also have to do that. Let's go back to code now, guys. Okay, hopefully these are all okay. These are installing. Now, once you do that, you need to create two folders. Okay. So the first folder that you're going to create is agents. And then I need utils as well. These two folders you have to create. Okay. Always remember that these are the two folders that you need to create. And once you create these two folders, you can start basically writing your code into it. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to write all of our we're going to create all of our tools agents into this agents folder, and utils will be basically the utilities file, right? Now let me do that. So I'm going to create first file called agent underscore base. So we're going to create a base for our agents. It's a Python file. You can see agent underscore base.py. And now let me just see, this is done. So we can again clear this and minimize the window, the terminal. Now in the agent base, I'm going to import OpenAI. That's the first thing. So OpenAI had two versions, 0.28 and 1.0, or 1. Not the latest one, from ABC. And I'm going to import ABC and abstract. Little bit of, oops concept, guys. If you're in college, you will understand this better. Okay, abstract method. Now we need log. Okay, so we need log, and from log we need logger. So we're gonna get logger. Put logger, import logger, and then we need OS. So let me just import OS as well. Import OS. And once you import OS, after that you need .env, because we have saved it into the env file just to get the API. So from .env import load.env. That's what we import. Let me just do load.env. Our imports are done, guys, for the base class. In this, we're gonna basically define our LLMs. In this video, we're defining OpenAI. In the next video, we're gonna define OLama, right? So let me just load the env. Now this way you can load the env, and then you can just set the OpenAI underscore API. If you can also set it through terminal. You can use set command on Windows and export command on Linux machine. So just let me just do it here, and we just do os.getEnv. So far we have our, you know, so far we have our API key set. Now we're going to define a class. So let me just define a class and call it agent base. Now in this agent base, it asks for an object. So let's do that. Now in this agent base, we're going to have an init function. So let me just do init and of course self, and I'm going to have name. I'm going to have max retries. Like I'll explain that in a bit. Max retries, let's set it default by 2, and then verbose equals true. Now this max retries that you see here, these are nothing but you are just saying if LLM is not able to probably generate for any region, for any exceptions or for error, if it's not able to generate the output in one go, how many retries it should make. So that's what it is. Okay, and name is basically the name of the model. And then verbose true means all the descriptions and logs that you see verbose are basically for the terminal that you can also use TQDM, for the loaders and for the status if you want. We're going to talk about it, guys, in a bit. Now let's just do self.name name. This is how easy it is. Okay, so self.name name is done. And then you have self.max tries, and self.verbose. So you can see how easy. Now we are good with our init function. Now after init, we're going to create an abstract method, which is a decorator in this case. So let me just create an abstract method. You can see it showing me. Now in the abstract method, again, I'm going to define a function that's called execute. So let me just define a function, execute, define execute, and pass self. And all the arguments and quarks will go here. So let me just do that. You can see it over here, right? Now in this, we're just gonna have to pass this function. So let's just write pass. Now we are good with our abstract. Now the one function that we need is just to define the LLM and the system settings or system prompt or whatever, right? So let's do that. So what I'm gonna do is define, and I'm gonna name it call OpenAI. You just the model. You can call LLM also if you want to hide the hide the LLM name. Doesn't matter, guys, to be very honest. Okay, now, there are a lot of controversies going on. Open model, open weights model, open source model versus closed source model. See, open source is good for development, but a threat for national security. It's a deep statement. You guys have to understand that open source model can be really risky as well. A lot of people can misuse it because it's free to use. It's crazy, right? So I'm not going into those topic for now. Okay, we're going to talk about it sometimes later. Now call OpenAI. Now inside this, I'm going to have self. This is call OpenAI. I'm going to have self and my messages. This is available in OpenAI documentation. Let's define some inference parameter. Like I'm just going to have temperature and max token. That's what interests me. Okay, but you can have top P, top K, etc. Max tokens, and I'm going to keep like by default 150 ways or just to reduce the token cost. Uh, you can also use, guys, Gemini as well, but then post processing will be a bit different. How do you parse the output? So retries, of course, will be 0. Now retry is 0, and then I'm going to say while retries self dot max retries, and then we're going to have try and accept. Now in the try, I'm going to write if self dot verbose, yes. If self dot verbose, then I'm going to have a logger dot info, and you can see it's showing me because I'm using tab 9 or any AI code completions. You can also use it, if you want. Uh, it's up to you guys if you want to use anything. Like you can also use GitHub Copilot if you want to use it. Like it's $10 or $8 something, if I'm not wrong, right? Now here I'm gonna write sending messages to sending message to OpenAI. Self.name is nothing but the name of the agent or tool. Okay, that's what it is. Okay, now This is a very simple logger.info that we created that you see here. If self.verbose blah blah blah. Okay. Now I'm gonna say for message in messages, and I'm gonna do the debug logger.debug and then I'm going to write message, and message will have a role. So let's define the role, message role, and then you define the content. It should not be message, it should be content, because that's how we parse the output, okay, of OpenAI. So it's content, right? Okay, and then we have to close this. Okay, this looks good. This looks good. Okay, now we do the response. So response equal, we're gonna use chat completions. So this is how you use chat completion, OpenAI dot chat dot completion. Did I import OpenAI? Okay, I have OpenAI dot chat dot completions dot, and of course create response, and here you can basically define your model name. So for example, you're gonna use GPT-4o, one of the best model out there right now. You can also use OpenAI models by OpenAI, which probably you have to request accesses for that. Messages. So I have model, I have my messages, I have my temperature. So temperature equals temperature, and max tokens equals max tokens. Max tokens equals max tokens. This is what it is, guys. This is what you have to do. Max tokens, and we are good by now. So response is good. Then you will get a reply from OpenAI, and then we're gonna get the reply. So this is how you get it. Response dot, it basically a list of choices. So I'm gonna have choices, and in these choices the output that you get it, the first of it, and then the message. If you do this, you get the reply in a text. Now I'm gonna say if self dot verbose again, because we're gonna have the info logger.info self name received response. Pretty simple what we did earlier on top. Received response. I think I spelled it wrong. Is it? I don't know. Okay, received response. Now received response, and then you just print the reply. Just get the reply, and that's what it is. Okay, this looks good. Here you get an error. Okay, if self.name received response and reply, right? And you can just return the reply. So just return the reply of it. Now we're gonna have an exception. Okay, so let's just define that, because we are writing a try except. So in except we can have an exception as E. Oh, excuse me. Exception as E. Except exception as E, and then you can just write retries, because we have to retries, right? Retries equal to retries plus one, or one plus retries, whatever you call it, and then you just print the error logger dot error. You try at least once, and if not, then logger dot error. And in this we're gonna write F, and because we are also writing it in the file F, and self.name, and I'm just gonna write probably error during OpenAI calls or something. OpenAI call or something, right? This is your error, and then it goes E, and then we can have retry as well. So we can also do a retry, and then these retries will be self dot max retries. Self dot, no, it should be in curly braces. Self dot max retries. And let me just do an alt jet so you can see it. I think we are good. Logger dot error, self name error during OpenAI retry. Yes, and then you can raise an exception. Okay. range exception, and in this exception, range exception, and then in this exception, we're gonna call it f of self.name failed to get response from OpenAI after self.max retries. Let me just do that self.max retries and then retries. Okay, and I think we are good. If you look at here from top, what we are doing, okay, let me just go a bit up. What we are doing, we have imported everything. We defined our API keys. Then we created an agent class called agent base. And then we have an init function. And then we have an call OpenAI function. In that, we have passed some inference params. And then we set the loggings and then define the model, which model that we're going to use. And of course, some logging things. So this is our base. Now, once you're good with base, so you have created the first file, which is your base. Now, after that, we're gonna create some tools. Okay, first of all, we're gonna create some tools. We're gonna create three tools, guys, here. Okay, so the first tool that we're gonna create is Summarize tool. So let me just go into Summarize. Okay, now for that, we're gonna create inside this something called Summarize tool, Summarize tool.py. Now this is our second file. Now here we're gonna write all the logics for Summarize. So you can create different tools. You can have external, internal tools. Now imagine if you want to crawl something, crawl a website. Okay, then you can use Gina AI. You can use Crawl for AI. Okay, you can use a lot of other a lot of other things to crawl. Right now, here I'm gonna do. So first of all, we have to import the LLM because that's what we're gonna use for summarization. So how do we do it? Because we have this file in the same file, the agent base. We're gonna do dot agent base. I think you can also create this in different folders. So basically, make it more modular, guys. Okay, you can also do that. From dot agent base import agent base. So now we have imported our agent base. If you come here, this is our agent base class. Now file name is agent underscore base. So if you look at this, from dot underscore agent base import agent base. This is done. You're gonna define a class here called summarize. So let me just do that, summarize or agent or summarize tool or something. Okay, and then I'm going to of course pass the agent base. That's what where we, because that's an abstract method, right? So we're going to pass an agent base summarize tool, and I'm going to define an init function, and in this init function I'm going to have self max retries and then verbose equals true, false, not false, it should be true because we want the verbose, guys, right? And then I'm going to use super here because we just can bring it, right? So we can just use super dot init. Yes, you can see it over here. So I'm going to use super function, so super dot init, and I'm going to name this class. Let's call it summarize or tool or something. And then you can pass max retries equals max retries and verbose equals verbose. It's perfect. Now again, the same execute function. If you remember, we created a execute function with a decorator called abstract method or something. Now in the execute, we're going to have self and the name. Self args, arguments, text. Self and text. Now this is our execute function, and this execute function we're going to have, of course we are using OpenAI, so we have to follow their system prompt technique. So we're going to have a messages. You can find this in their documentation as well, and in this messages we're going to have our role. So let me just do role. So role is system, and then you define content. Now in this content we're going to say you are an AI assistant, because it's a summarization thing that summarizes medical text. You can also improve it. You can bring COT. I'm going to introduce probably that React or COT, reason and act or chain of thought prompting when we are writing the refiner agent kind of a thing. We will see that refiner and validator, how you can do that. Okay. You can bring those prompt engineering techniques as well. It's not a problem. Now, messages. So we have our first role, and then again, in this, we're going to have a user role. So let's do user. I think this is important, guys. Once we do this, we can just copy paste like these functions at least, because these are very redundant. Now I'm going to have content. Now inside this content, excuse me, I have a content, and here in the excuse me, okay, let me do an control Z. Now inside this content, what I'm going to pass is I'm going to pass the please provide something, that you can improve the prompt. I will recommend you should improve the prompt. Please provide a concise spelling is wrong. Please provide a concise summary of the following medical text. This is how I define it. I am just having some line breaks because I'm going to pass that, because we have to pass our input text that we are getting from Streamlit app, right? That's what we pass here. Now this is what we pass here, and then we get this summary. You just get this summary here. Very simple, guys. This is how you define the messages. So we are okay with our messages. Now, once you do the messages, you get this summary from OpenAI, right? The models. Now, summary. So I'm going to use self dot. We have to call OpenAI. If you remember, we defined call OpenAI here. If you look at this function, now this function is being imported through agent base, this agent base class. So I'm just doing self dot call because we have here self. If you look at this init function. So I'm just doing self.call OpenAI, and I'm going to pass in this the messages. So let's pass the messages, and after messages, you pass some max tokens, like in how many tokens you want the output. So it's a summary, so we should not have a lengthy summary. So I'm going to have 300, but you can again customize that. So we have written our summarize tool. This is our first tool, guys. That's summarize tool. So we written agent base, we written summarize tool, and the next tool that we're going to create is, of course, so you can create multiple tools. As I said, even don't have to restrict to what I am doing. You can have multiple other tools as well, guys. So this is first. Summarize tool is done. Now let's do sanitize data tool. Okay, where we can sanitize data. Okay, so for that I'm going to create a sanitize underscore data underscore tool dot py. So this is what I'm created, sanitize data underscore tool dot py. Now you can give it any other name as well. So same thing, we're gonna have this copy. Let's copy this, or we can just copy the entire thing. Let's see what we have to change. Now the first thing will be same, which is from agent base. Now summarize tool, we can change the name. We can call it sanitize data tool. So you can see I changed the name of the class. I called it sanitize data tool. That's what I did. And then you can give this a name as well. So let's just do that. So I'm going to do is sanitize data tool. That's what we do it. And then let me do an alt Z so you can see it. Sanitize data tool, and then you have max retries, and then verbose, right? That's what we have. Now this execute is fine. Here, let's have this called medical data or something. So we have different stuff. Self medical data, that's what we have. And the messages remain same. And I'm going to say here, you are an AI assistant, not summarizes, that sanitizes medical data, excuse me, medical data by removing protected health information, or PHI, or something like that. Okay. Oh, did I say patient health information? Okay, it's protected health information. Role user, this is fine. And then here we suggest write, let me just do remove all PHI from the following data, or something like this, right? And then you pass the not you cannot pass text because then you have medical data. And then this not should not be summary. We're gonna call it like sanitized data or something. Now we are good with this. Now we have a summary. Let's call this sanitized data, variable name, and then return that. Okay. So sanitized data, and then this looks good. So we have written our second tool as well. We created two tools right now, Sanitize Data tool and Summarize tool. Now we're going to create one more tool. Okay, and you can create n number of tools, and you can also use a lot of already created tools, guys. You can just search for like Crawl for AI, which is very good crawler, or Gina AI, or Markdown reader or something. A lot of tools are available. You can also, we'll see that. Okay, probably in the upcoming videos we can also create that. Now, once you are done with that, we're going to have a write article tool that will write article. So let me just do write article underscore tool dot py. So in the write article tool dot py, we're going to have a very similar concept, right? We're just going to copy it. So let me just copy this thing here. Come here in write article, Alt Z. You can see it. Now we're going to make some changes. The first thing that we're going to make is, of course, this. So let's call it write article. This is what I named it. Write article tool and this agent base, and then super, and of course give this a name. So let's call it write article tool. This is what it is. Now write article tool. Max retries is fine, verbose is fine. Write article tool. Self max retries verbose. And then here we have to make few changes because then we're gonna have outlines and stuff. So self is good, execute. I'm gonna have a topic. Topic the user will enter on the Streamlit app, and then we're gonna have an outline. And outline should be none by default. So let's just do an outline. If they don't want to give outline, it's fine. Now we can make this a bit different. Okay, so let me just remove the bunch of sit from here. Okay, now you have sanitized data. So what we're gonna do here is, okay, this sanitize is fine. So let's call this article. Take a bit of reverse engineering approach, starting from the back. Article self dot, and this will be messages max tokens. Let's keep this max tokens as 1,000. Want lengthy because it's an article. You should increase the uh, max tokens, and then return article is it, right? So return article. Now here, if you look at execute, okay, define execute. I'm gonna first have a system message. So in system message, let's define that you are an expert academic writer. You are an expert academic. You can do role-based prompting, task-based prompting, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that I leave up to you for you to figure it out, do a bit of research. Now this is a system message. You are an expert academic writer. I'm gonna have an user content. Now in the user content, I'm gonna have write a research, write a research article on the write a research article on the following topic, and then you can give the topic over here. Give the topic, which is of course going to be in the curly braces because that's the input variable. Okay, the topic that you'll get it from Streamlit app, and then you just basically give it that, right? Now topic, this is good. We have an user content. Now what I'm going to do is, of course, we're going to check for the outline. So I'm going to say if outline. So if outline, okay, then user content equals, uh, it was suggesting me, right? Okay, user contact, and then you're going to have an outline. So let's do an outline here. Okay, so outline, if outline, okay, and then you pass the outline, blah, blah, blah. Okay, now I can give a space as well for the outline. It's important to handle this, guys. Okay, otherwise it's better. Markdown is the best format to work with, so you can also include that. If you're working with GenAI applications, Markdown is the best format. Okay, now if outline is done, I'm going to have an user content. So let's do an user content, and this is correct. And then here you have an article. So you have an article, and in this article, excuse me, in this article, that's it. Okay, so user content is done, and now you create messages. And messages, then you just have to define the system and user role. Okay, so let me just do role, and we know this first role. What is this role? This is a system role, and then you just write the content. If you are using other models, that then you have to make the changes according to what kind of compatibility they have. Most of the models now have OpenAI compatibility, guys. So even if you're using Gemini, I have a video on that, that how you can use, the same OpenAI library to call Gemini model. So I'll recommend you watch that video as well. And then you're gonna have a role, user content, user content. This looks good. Okay, now we are done with this writer as well. So we have a writer tool that will write. Then we need couple of more tools. Because this is only writer, we're going to have a refiner who will refine it, and then we're going to have a validator who's going to validate it. So let's just create a couple of more tools, and then we are okay with our tools thingy. Okay. After that, we will go into the utils. We're going to define the agent manager who's going to manage all of these agent or tools or whatever you call it. Okay. Now let's have a refiner agent. So I'm going to have a refiner agent. So let me create a file called refiner underscore agent underscore py. Now, refiner agent, of course, let's copy this. Very similar prompt will get change logic. And here you can bring off all of this like like region and act, like step by step reasoning or something. You can do that. Now, write article tool. We're gonna call it. Let's call this refiner agent. Okay, so I'm gonna call it refiner agent. Okay, this is my refiner agent. This is an agent base. Okay, and you can call it refiner tool as well. Okay, there's a different. I think we should call it tool. So let's probably call it tool. Okay, so we have refiner tool that will, I'll not call it tool. It's not using any tool. Okay, we're creating the tool. So let's call it refiner agent, and we're gonna name this as refiner agent. Excuse me, refiner agent. Now max retries and verbose. This is fine. Execute. This all looks good. Self max retry. Blah blah blah. Okay, you are an expert. Now here we're gonna change. Okay, so let me copy this from sanitize data. Okay, from this, come here because that will be easier for us to kind of. Okay, now we have messages. Nice. Okay, define execute self topic. Now in the messages we have a role system, and then in the content we have uh, let me just do that. Now we have a role system, and then we're going to have a content, and in this content we're going to have again a list, and inside this list we're going to have different types. So role system and then the content, and in the content we're going to type text, and in this type text we're going to have text that we're going to pass. Now here you can set your prompt that like you are something like this. Okay, you are an expert editor, because we're going to have a refiner, right, who should edit this or should review it, who refines and enhances articles for clarity, coherence, and academic. And this is important because you should define clearly that it's for academic articles, because then it's a different way they accept it, coherence and academic quality. Okay, so I'm just defining a system prompt here. You can see this is a system prompt. Okay, now this is done. Now you have a role user, so that is fine. And then the content, so let me just get rid of this thing here. So you have a content, and in this content again I'm gonna have very similar stuff. Type text. Now this is how also you can define it, guys. You don't need to mention type text, but it's good to know everything that you can define it in a different way. Type text, and here I'm gonna pass my text. Now in this text I'm gonna have excuse me, and in this text you're gonna define please refine the following article draft. So this is a draft to improve its language coherence and overall quality. Think step by think step by step. Think and no, this is fine. We're gonna not add that, but you can also add that a bit of step by step thing as well. Okay. Now here, and you can just pass that here. Okay. F, and I'm gonna have draft. So this is you are passing the draft because you have to pass the draft. So let's pass the draft. And once you pass the draft, you can have, and you can now have refined article. Refined article, and then you can just publish it. Now let's change this to refined article. So let's call it refined article, and I'm gonna have self.call OpenAI messages is fine. And now you can also define temperature and max token. So let's define the temperature a bit. So I'm gonna call this a lower value of temperature 0 0.3 and max tokens. This is fine. Let's call it like 1024 and then pass the refined article. So we are okay with our refiner agent as well, guys. So we created a refiner agent. We have to create one we create not last agent. We have to create a couple of other validators. So now we have to create validators for all the three use cases. So if you look at the use cases here, there are three use cases that we have. So one is called, writing articles. The other one is summary, and the third one is sanitization. Three use cases. For all these three use cases, we'll have three validators. But for the writing, we have a refiner as well. We're gonna refine it, okay? Because we have created here that you see. So let's create one more, okay? For writer first, and then we create for the other ones. Okay, so I'm gonna call it write article validator agent.py or something. That's what I'm gonna create, write article, which is very similar to what we did for this one. Okay, so let's just copy this thingy. Copy, come here and paste. Now, of course, gonna make some changes. So this write article tool that you see, this has to be write article validator or something. Write article validator agent, and agent base is fine. Now this self max retries verbose. Of course, we can define max retries verbose true. Let me do an alt Z, control S. Max retries, this is fine, verbose. Now I can give it a name. So write article validator agent. This is how we're going to name it. Now, this system message, you are an expert, should not be there. You are an expert AI assistant that validates research articles or something like that. Okay. Okay, so system message is fine. Now the user content, let me just get rid of this user content here. So let's first see the messages. So role, system content, system message is fine. And then content, user content is fine. And then in this, let's call it validation. So validation, and in this article, we're gonna have validation. Max tokens, let's keep it like this is fine. Let's have a smaller max tokens for validator output. Okay, messages is good. Now we have to define user content. Now here you can define different techniques of prompt engineering. You can define like anything given the topic and the article. In the topic and article, assess whether assess whether the article comprehends something like this, comprehensively covers the topic, follows a logical structure, and you can keep adding like anything you want. Okay, logical structure, and maintains academic standard or something like this, standards, and then you can just do line break. So this is your user content. Okay, now here we have to pass the topic. Okay, and what we can also do, we can provide a brief analysis, and rate the article on a scale of 1 to 5. Okay, where 5 indicates excellent quality. Okay, so this is fine. And now we're going to pass the topic, and topic we know that we're going to get it from Streamlit app. And once you pass the topic, you also have the article. and that article is now coming from the article that has been created by the writer tool that we have that creates the article. So we're passing the output of that tool to this particular agent, so it can basically look at that article and of course look at the topic and then find out if that's making sense. That's what we are doing here, guys, right? So we are taking the input, so basically they can exchange the information within the each other, so they're working collaboratively, these two, and basically validates if that article is making sense. And I'll just give the validation here, right? So validation, and thus you just go with the validation. So that's it. We have the right article validator, we have the refiner agent, and we have the right article tool. So we have this article thingy done. So let me just cross this. Now we have to create two more file here in this agent folder, but these are all validations. Even for sanitization, we want to find out the validator, and also for the summary, we want to find out the validate. Like just an idea, but you can again enhance this with other tools as well. If you want to have multiple tools, feel free to have multiple tools as well. Now in this sanitizations, we're gonna create one file. So let's create, excuse me, here. Let's create that file called sanitize data validator. You can call it anything that you want. Okay, so let's call it agent.py and stuff. So I'm just gonna call it agent.py. Sanitize data validator agent.py. Now here we're gonna write very similar stuff. Okay, like we did it here. Okay, so let me just copy this, Control A, Control C, and then paste here. Now if you look at, we have to change this name. So let's not call it right article validator. We're gonna call it sanitize data validator. So I'm just gonna get rid of these two words here, and I'm gonna call it sanitize data. So this becomes my sanitize data validator agent, sanitize data validator agent, and then I have everything is fine, that max retries and stuff. Okay. Now here in the execute function, again we have to change the system prompt. So I'm gonna say you are an AI expert. Validate, it's not the right thing. Okay, that validate the sanitization of medical data. That validates the sanitization of sanitization of sanitization of medical data by checking the removal of PHI. Right, this is what I'm writing. Now in the user content, we're gonna give given the original data. So let me just remove this. Given the original data and sanitized data, uh, verify that all PHI. We can just write something like verify that all PHI has been removed. Verify that all the PHI has been removed. Okay, something like this. This becomes your uh, thing. Now provide a brief analysis. Rate the sanitized data, or let's say process on a scale of 1 to 5, 5, and that is fine. Now in the topic, we're going to have it original. This becomes your original data, and in the topic, it's not topic. Okay, I have self topic outline. By the way, this has to be changed with self original data, and this will not be outline. Okay, self original data, and then it will be sanitized data. This is fine. Now here we're going to pass original data into this. So let's just pass the original data, and then here we pass the sanitized data, and let's remove the article. So this becomes sanitized data, and then this will not be this will be fine validations, and then this is fine. Then let's call this validation. This is fine. So we are done with this as well. So let's just copy this and create one more file. Just we need one more file here in this agent folder. Now that one is nothing but to create the summary validator. We need the summary validator agent. So let me just create that file here, summary validator agent.py. So let's do that. Now I'm just going to copy this thingy from sanitize validator to summary validator. So let's copy alt Z. Now here we're going to name, of course, change this name. So I'm going to call it summarize validator agent. So summarize validator agent, and this will also be changed. Summarize validator agent, max retries, and all these are good. Now let validate the I'm going to write validate the summaries of medical test or something like this. And in the user content, given the original summary, verify, uh, not verify, you can write assess the summary accurately, assess whether the summary, right, not summary, assess whether the summary accurately capture the key points or something and are of high quality and is of high quality standard or something like that. Is of high quality. Okay, and provide a rate of the this we can change it. Uh, Provide a brief analysis and rate the summary. Now this has to be changed, our input. So this not becomes our original data. This becomes original text, and this become your summary. And this output, this input will come from the output of the writers, the summary tool that we have over here. And then I'm gonna have. Okay, let me just change this to original text, and then this becomes your original text, and this sanitized, it's not sanitized data, it becomes your summary. So let's call this summary. And then you have validation. This makes sense completely to me, and then the validation is validation, and then this is fine. Now we are good with this, guys. Okay, so what I'm going to do is now move to the next folder, okay, which we are going to create for we're going to create it. I think we have to create one more file. I forgot to do that. We're going to create an init py, okay, because that will be your agent manager. So let's do that. Okay, so I'm going to create an okay, now here we're going to have just initialize. So from the first is from dot summarize underscore tool import summarize tool, right? And now let's just copy this. So I'm going to have control V, and I think we'll have, okay, so the second is not summarize tool. We just have to get rid of, I think it should suggest me. Let's see. From the second one, we write article tool. From write article tool, import write article tool from not read article. How stupid is this? Okay, sanitize sanitize data tool, not sanitize data tool, import sanitize data tool, and then from now these three are the tools that we created, right? Now I'm gonna have bring up all the agents that we have. So from summarize, okay, uh, what do we have from summarize validator agent, from summarize validator agent import summarize validator agent from, we can call this write article validator, and this will be write article validator agent. Okay, now so summarize validator is fine, write article is fine. Sanitize data validator, import sanitize data validator agent, and then from next is from write article validator. Sanitize is done, write is done, then we have refiner. From refiner agent, import refiner agent, and then from dot validator agent import from validator agent. So we have write article validator, we have summarize okay, I think I missed one more. Okay, we need that. Okay, so we need to create on validator agent. Okay, fine. Let's create a file called in the agent itself. That should be validator underscore agent dot py. Because I think we created for write article tool we have, write article validator we have, refiner. Okay. Okay, not required. I think we can just use that. Okay, so you can just skip this. Okay, that makes sense. Now once you have done that, okay, we're gonna create a class that will be your agent manager that will manage, that will be your entry point, for the manager. So I'm gonna have a class agent manager, and in this agent manager we're gonna have an, of course, an init self max retries, and of course skip 2 and verbose equals true. Now in this init we're gonna have your everything. So summarize, and then that will be your summarize tool, and that you pass max retries verbose, and then you can keep writing the bunch of the rest. Okay, so you have write article, so write article tool. Ah, so write article is done, then we have sanitize data is done. So we have three so far: summarize, write article. Now then we need the validator, summarize validator, summarize validator agent, and then you just write max retries and verbose equal verbose. So summarize validator is done. Now summarize validator is done. Write article validator. So let's bring up that. Write article validator. Write article validator. Okay. Uh, yeah. And then you use write article validator agent. And let me do one thing. So write article validator is done. Now we have sanitize data validator agent. Okay. So let me just do that. Sanitize data validator agent, and then you would need sanitize data validator agent, and then just paste. Right? Sanitize data validator is done. Then we have refiner. I think we just use the refiner, but we can also define. We don't have a validator file, so we just need the refiner agent, and then we just paste. I think we are good. So you just define everything here in this agent manager. Now, seems like I made a mistake. This should has to be in self.agent, because then that will be the variable that we're going to use to pass it, and it's going to be a key value pair. Okay, so I'm just going to copy all this thingy. Now it's good. So we have self agent done. So we need other function to get an agent. So define get agent. Now in this agent, we're going to pass the name of the agent. So self and the, excuse me, this has to be agent name. So let's define a params called agent name. And then in this function, basically, we're going to use our agent. So agent equals self.agents.get yes agent name. Pretty simple. Okay, now this agent, and I'm going to say if not agent. So if not agent, then raise a value error. So let's do raise value error, and you can just say agent not found. Okay, so I'm going to do agent, and we're going to pass an input variable. So always better to do agent, and then give the name of the agent. So that should be agent name, and then not found or something. Okay, now this is what we're gonna do, and then just return the agent over here. That's what we do with agent. This is our agent manager class, and I will draw that diagram and then understand how this agent manager is gonna work. Okay, so you have this agent manager. So this is done. Now I think we are good with our uh, agent folder, guys. We created all the tools and the agents that are required to basically for this use case that we have considered. Now I'm gonna go inside utils. Okay, so in the utils folder, we're gonna create a logger.py file, a very simple file. Okay, I'll just gonna show you. Okay, so let's create a logger.py. So in the logger.py, let me just get rid of all of these. Okay. Now we have to write two more things, logger.py and app.py, which is our entry from the Streamlit. Now in the logger files, we're going to use from logger import logger, and then we're going to have import system and then import OS. Now the first thing is if check if the log file is there. Okay, if the log directory exists. Okay, and of course we're going to look at if not os.path.exist, that is correct, and we're going to name it like logs. Okay, and then if not, then you have to create it. So create the directory. So os.make dirs logs. Okay, so this is like creating the directory. Okay, and I have commented that in my GitHub repository. So when you are like reading it, you can just find it out from there. Now we have to configure the logger. So let's configure it. So I'm going to have logger.remove. So logger.remove if the that just to remove the default logger. Okay, so logger.remove, and then I'm going to add. So let's do logger.add. Okay, and then you're going to have system, yes, which is right, straight out, and then I have label. So we are having info label, guys. Okay, there are different level of logs that you can capture, and then you can define a format. Okay, so I need this in green, like when you do this verbose, right? Okay, and also save it. I want to have this in this format. Okay, so let me, and I want to get it the time and everything. So let me just do time. Okay, I hope I don't need time to import. Okay, it will probably not throw an error. And then green, and then again the level of it. So level, the message. Okay, so let me just call this message. Okay, this is what we are getting from what are we passing, so that output that we get from LLM, that's what we are passing here, and then the label. So that's what we have configured logger.add, and now logger.add. So you can just write like, because this is the folder, so we're going to save that. So logs.multi-agent. So let me just do that multi-agent because that's name of the file. So multi-agent system.log. Okay, now this is become that. Now you can save out, the retention period for how many days you want to retain it, the level debugging level, and the rotation, and so on and so forth. So let's click the file rotation, like the size of it. So rotation is in size. You can just call it 1 MB. And then the next thing is retention. And retention, you have to define 10 days. And then you can give it a level. So it's on debug, and level is fine. And then we're going to define a format. So format, how are we saving it? So this is for saving up. Okay. So time, and then level, and then you define the message. So define the message, and then we are good, guys. Okay. So let me just have a look. Yeah, this looks okay. So we are good with our utils file. Okay. So this is basically an utils file that you need it, for the logs, and it's important to create utils. You can also do observability. We can also enhance this. I leave up to you. And of course, you can contribute to this repository, this project. Okay, we can make this a bit enhanced as well. Now let's go through app.py thingy. So I'm going to create a file in the root directory. I'm going to call it app.py, and the first thing that I'm going to do is import Streamlit as st. That's what we're going to import, and I'm going to import from agents. So that's my folder name, the agents, and what I need is agent manager. That's what I need. So that's I named it agent manager. Now agent manager is done. So from utils we have the logger. So let me just do utils logger import logger. That's what we named it, logger. And then I need the OS thingy. And then I need from .env thingy as well, import load.env. Too much of code, guys. From .env import load, but this is good. Okay, load.env. I'm looking forward to the Olama thingy. Okay, I'm working on it side by side. We'll create that video soon. Load.env, def main. Now is entry point, def main. I'm gonna set a page title. So ht.set page config. And in this page config, you can define a page title. So let's call it like, you know, multi-agent AI system. And you can also set some emojis. So I'm not doing it. Okay. Layout equals wide. I'll leave up to you to do that. Okay. Page title is done. And then ht title of that app. Okay, so we're gonna call it multi-agent. We're gonna call it multi-agent system, multi-agent AI system with collaboration and validator or something like that. Okay, collaboration and validator. Validator is it? Okay, validation. Okay, so this is done. We have a main, and now we're gonna have a sidebar title. ht.sidebar, which basically a sidebar. Okay, and give it a title. Call it like select task or something. So sidebar is done. Okay, ht sidebar, and then I'm gonna have a task, which is a select box. So I'm gonna have ht sidebar dot select box. Oh my God, sidebar select box. Okay, and then inside this, I'm gonna have choose a task or something, or better to do choose a task. And then here in choose the task, you can have your list item. Now in the list, I'm gonna have summarize medical text, and second one will be write and refine article, write and refine article, and then I'm gonna have sanitize medical data, PHI, right? Now task is done. So when task is done, we're gonna have an agent manager. That's our manager who's gonna look at. So let's initialize it, agent manager, and then I'm gonna do a max retries, which was 2. So I want to keep it 2. And let's keep like verbose equals true. So verbose equal true. So we have our agent manager initialized. Now if we need task equals summarize medical text, and then I'm gonna run that particular agent. So I'm gonna use summarize, excuse me. I'm gonna have summarize section. I'm gonna call it summarize section, and I'm gonna pass agent manager. So this is my one summarize section, agent manager. Now I'm gonna have elif task write and refine article. Then here I'm going to have write and refine article section. And then I'm going to pass my agent manager. Elif task is done, right? Now, and we're going to define that we have to create this function, guys. Don't worry, summarize sections and write and refine. Okay, so basically we have to do that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is have an elif task again equal, and that is nothing but sanitize medical data. Make sure that it's completely the strings are same, otherwise it will say not found. Okay, and then I'm gonna call it sanitize data section or something, sanitize data section. So let me just do that here, sanitize data section, and then I'm gonna pass my agent manager. So this is our initialization of task, of course some with conditionals, if else, whatever has been selected. Now we're gonna write a summarize sections a function. So let me just do that. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this because this is very simple. So let me just go back to, and I'll explain that what I'm doing, because this is simple stuff. We just want to do the repeat of how are we calling it. So let me just copy this thing, define right, okay, and summarize section. And we'll explain just calling the, we're just calling that, okay, I don't know what happened to this function. Yep. And this is also has to be indent properly. Yeah, this makes sense. And you can just do we can just do if underscore underscore name main and just run the main app. Now let me show you what's happening over here. So if you go a bit up with this alt Z, of course. Now look at this summarize section. We are passing the agent manager and we are having a header called summarize medical text. That the header that you see. Enter medical text to summarize. We have a height of that input box which is 200 and have a button called summarize. And if there is this text there, okay, then it's fine. It's uses the variable called main agent, which is the first agent, which uses called agent manager.get agent summarize. It uses that get agent summarize and then has a validator agent that uses the summarize validator agent manager.get agent summarize validator. Okay, now I had a loader spinner whatever you call it and uses the execute function. Remember we have an execute function in the summary and then get the summary and then write the summary over here. Okay, and then we are having some exception handling. If there is any error, logger will basically capture it and save it in the file and show it on the terminal as well. That's what it's doing here. Now this is for creating the summary. We have a validator summary as well that validates it. It says validation validator agent.execute original text equal to text, validates it and then has an exception over here that you see. And then this is your enter some text to summaries. Now, similarly, we have a write and refine article sections where it has three different agents that it uses. You know, write article, refiner, validator. Okay, that you can see it here. If topic is selected, if outline is none, basically, if there's because that's an optional thing. So we have an optional outline. You know, so if input, it drafts. The first is draft the article, and then it refines the articles over here, and then it validates the article over here that you see validator. Okay, simple. And then have a sanitize data section that also takes the agent manager as an input. Params, okay, then param because it has to use the agent manager that we have initialized above in the code. Have an input box, and then it looks at it uses sanitize data agent. That there are two agent for two use cases. Summary there are two agent and sanitization there are two agent. For writing the article there are three agent, right? Now it says main agent, validator agent, and then get it done, and then just print that, right? And then we return it and then have a validation as well the same way and the logs are working. So this is what it is, guys, right? This is how you create it. Okay, this is an app.py. Now, if you're working on, if you want to integrate in React and stuff, you have to create a fast API or a Flask based APIs, a backend APIs to basically work with. And I'll recommend you use fast API to do that. If you're not working with Streamlit, if you're trying to work with React, then you can have integrations. I think that's a good way of doing things because that will basically make you understand this better as well. Right? So that will be my suggestion to you. So this entire code is available. Okay, you can find it out on uh, GitHub repository. Of course, I'll give the link in description. I want to also probably explain that how you can do that. So let me first do one thing. Let me first run this. Okay, and also want to draw the diagram so you understand how it's basically working for that. So let's run this app now and see what happens. To run this, you just have to do streamlit run app.py. As you can see, I've did it. Okay, now here we open something like this. Summarize medical text, write and refine research articles, sanitize medical data, PHI, blah, blah, blah. Now summarize medical text. So if you have, like, let's take this from Wikipedia, and if you want to get a summary of it, right, just click on summarize, and then basically it sends the log. You can see it's sending message to OpenAI summarize tool, get to the time, and then execute it. Okay, and then you can have multiple reasoning step as well, guys. That's up to you to add in the prompt. You can see it's getting the validator now because we started with summarizations, validator, and then gives you. Okay, so if you look at the summary, it gives you tonsillitis is an inflammation of the tonsils, blah blah blah. Okay, and then it gives you the also says summary accurately encapsulates the key points of the original text, blah blah blah. Right, so comes up with that. Okay, same way you can also write and refine article. Let's see AI applications in healthcare. Okay, I need introduction, I need applications and real world case study. real world examples, let's say real world examples, and then I need next step or something. If you want this, and you can write an extra tool, guys, that will post this on Twitter or something, LinkedIn in 200 characters or something. So you can create that tool by using Twitter API or something, X API nowadays, okay, and build it. It's just pure Python. Just have to integrate the flow and basically works. Okay, so now it says writing article. If you look at here in this, it says sending message to OpenAI. You will call it LLM, and you can use any LLM you want. Next, we're gonna try Llama, Llama 3.2, and you can see write article tool. It's doing it. Okay, and let it happening. Okay, it will take a bit of time. Meanwhile, it's happening. I'm gonna open AirDroid. Okay, just to probably try it out. If my tab is working, I'm gonna draw something. Okay, let's see if this works. Okay, uh, Android cast, and I'm gonna try it out with this. Okay. Meanwhile, that is happening, we can probably try to connect with the tab. Okay, so I can basically explain that drawing to you. So you can basically understand that. Yeah, it works. You can already see I have a multi-agent AI system written over here, and let's select. Yeah. So I explain that. Okay, uh, in bit. Now coming back to this. Okay, you can see the article it has drafted. You can also pass that to markdown file so it looks better. You can also do that. You can see the title, Evaluation of Healthcare, Exploring AI Applications and Their Implications. It gives you the introduction, gives you the applications and real world examples, and gives you the next step, what it should do next. So you can see over here, conclusion is also there. And then it gives you, now you can see this is a refined article. Okay, the below one, this is the refined article, and this is fantastic. Okay, because of course this is different. Okay, if you look at applications, if you come to applications, this is different. It says the principal application. It basically refine the articles. Okay, looking at the summary, sorry, the looking at the written article, and then gives you the validation. Article title, blah 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 blah. Rated 4 out of 5. Well written, comprehensive. You can make it whatever you want to make here now. Anyone, okay, right? So, uh, uh, let me take a screenshot of this. Okay, and probably I can take something like this and come here and full page. Let's take the screenshot of full page. Okay, and then it's just download here in this download folder. Okay, and yeah, guys, this is making sense. Okay, annotation, and if I just get the visible part as well, I can get the visible part. Now this is done, so let's go to tab over here, tab. Okay, now if you look at multi-agent AI system, if you want to understand that a bit, the flow. Okay, so we have an user. So you have an user. Now user interacts. Okay, let me write it in a good way. So we have an user. Now user interacts via Streamlit app. So we have an Streamlit app here. This is our Streamlit app, and user basically interacts with interacts with the app. So this is our Streamlit app, and now once it interacts with the Streamlit app, it sends task request. Okay. So basically, it has an agent manager. So this is your agent manager. Now this agent manager is basically send tasks request, right? This basically send task request to agent manager, right? Agent manager, and then this agent manager has multiple agents and tools that it works with. So basically, if you see this here, okay, it has multiple thingy. Okay, so the first can be summarize agent. I'm gonna write it summarization agent, and then I have you have summarization, then you have write article writer. So article writer agent, and then you have uh, data sanitization. So you have data sanitization agent, right? You have these three things, okay, that generate summary and stuff, right? And once these are there, okay, uh, you have different thing. Okay, you have a validator agent, we have a refiner agent. So refiner agent, validator agent, and then you have validator agents are basically two. So what we can just do, we can just get rid of this, okay, or get rid of, excuse me, get rid of this entire thingy. Okay, now this is making sense. Now the validator agent are of course three. So it has for summarization. So it can do summarization as well. Then it has for refined article, and it can also do for sanitized data. Right, this is what it is. Okay, now once you have done that, okay, the only thing you have is logger. So logger connects with everything. Okay, uh, this is your flow, guys. If you look at from top to bottom, it's a user, Streamlit app, agent manager, refine, and logger. So this is what we wanted to build. Okay, in this video, a very comprehensive tutorial, guys. I hope it's lengthy for you if you have followed along, but I hope you got the idea. That the entire agenda of this video was to help you build using Python. You don't necessarily have to do this. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can still use Crew AI, LangGraph, AutoGPT, so on and so forth, SmithOS and Light LLM and blah blah blah. Okay, but it's always good to go in depth and understand the fundamentals, code it, and then start using the wrappers. You know that's a good idea. High level abstract classes because that's what they have done it. Okay, so I will recommend you to take a clone this repository, take a pull request, and make a pull request, uh, and contribute to the repo, add some more tools, and see how we can build it. In the next video, we're gonna use Olama, okay, open source LLM. Everything remains same. So only the LLMs and the post processing will get changed a bit. And I hope you understood a thing about one or two things about AI agents and how we can build it. The repository will be available. If you like the content, please hit the like icon. If you haven't subscribed the channel yet, please do subscribe the channel, guys. That motivates me to create more such videos. Uh, and you can also join our Discord community. Okay, I'll give the link in description where we help each other and we have a lot of opportunities going out there. Okay, so you can also reach out to me through my social media channels. If you have any doubts, questions, thoughts, feedback, put that in comment box or reach out to me through social media channels via information are available on channel banner and channel about us. That's all for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one.